Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am your host, Courtney Anderson. Thank you for joining me today. And as always, you can go to CourtneyAnderson.com for more information and to provide feedback on the program. So today we have a show that is part of our Help Situation Spotlight series. And of course, this is our series based on feedback from community members like yourself. What do you want feedback on? What are you thinking about? What are you worried about? What are you concerned about? You just ask me for help, and I'll do everything in my power to come up with some potential solutions and walk through some analysis, and that's what we're here for, help! And of course, in each of our Help Situation Spotlight shows, we have a situation, a specific issue that someone's placed in the spotlight. So we're going to go ahead and start working through some potential solution sets. So today is a show, and our specific show episode title is, How Do I Pick the Right College for My First Degree? How do I pick the right college for my first degree? And so this is a question that I frequently receive from people. They feel like they've made a decision that part of them surpassing their goals is going to be for them to obtain a college degree, and this would be their first college degree. And so they start to walk through and worry about, how do I pick the right college? There's so many colleges. What's going on? I don't know anything. Okay, the first thing that we want to do is to establish that this is a great question. There's sort of the cliche and that in education, right, where the student will say, "Oh, I have a question," and then they'll say, "But I know it's probably a stupid question," and then the educator will respond, "There are no stupid questions." And people sometimes think, "Oh, that's not logical. Lots of questions are stupid." Well, not really. The question's only stupid to the person who doesn't have the knowledge. And if I don't have the knowledge about something, I'm going to ask the question. Obviously, if there's somebody else who has knowledge about that issue, to them it seems stupid because they already know. I don't know. So to me, it wasn't stupid. And I again want to clarify that all of us are in situations in life where we don't know. We may not know anything about an issue or an area, and you know what? That's okay. Everybody's different. And never feel embarrassed or ashamed. Ask your questions. And the key, though, is to listen to the response so that you don't get in a situation where you're repeatedly asking the exact same question and you're not investing in the work to process the response and move forward. So questions, there are no stupid questions. Asking the same question over and over again when you're getting the same response usually indicates you're not listening, you're not pausing to take the information in, or that you're not serious about getting help. So there are no stupid questions. I ask questions all the time, and I'm not embarrassed at all because I just don't know. And there's so much in the world I don't know anything about. So I go ahead and ask my question. And I don't ever say to somebody, this is a stupid question. I'm fully aware that other people who know more than I do will probably think it is silly, but I don't know, and that's why I ask. Usually once I get the information and I make sure I understand what the person shared with me as a response, and I take that information and I act on it. So I'm not repeating over and over again the same question. I'm learning. That's what I'm doing. And that's why this question is a great question. So this is all about somebody who's asking, hey, I made a decision about this thing, college. I'm going to do this thing about college or university. And how do I pick the right one? And for someone who's picking their first college degree program, it's even scarier because you really don't know. You haven't been to a college or university degree program and completed it. So you honestly don't have any, experience. You're asking. And this is a great question. There are a couple of parts of the question, though, that in my mind require a little bit of analysis in depth. The first thing is this. I did another show previously. You can certainly access it in the archives, and it was a Myth Warriors show. And, of course, in Myth Warriors, we take an idea or a concept and we try to decide, is that accurate? Is it, true? Or is it something that, hey, it might be a myth or a lie? And we did a show called A Degree is Just a Piece of Paper. I really strongly suggest that if you haven't accessed that, go pull it here in the archives. And it tries to address the first part of this question is, do I need college at all, right? Is college a total scam, a waste of time? Is a degree just a piece of paper? So we already have that show, and again, access that. The second part is, assuming you've already accessed that or made your decision that, yeah, I'm going to get my college degree, my first one, then you're trying to figure out, well, golly, where do I start? And it can seem overwhelming. There are literally thousands of colleges. And how do you pick the right one? All right, so we've put some information and resources out there about is the college degree at all worthwhile, and just refer to that. When you decide that, yeah, it is worthwhile, I'm going to get it, all right, where do I go? How do I go about this? What do I do? The question says, how do I pick the right college, right? Okay. So that presupposes that there's a wrong college. And that begs the question, which is the most important question in trying to figure out, where am I going to go and enroll as a student in college for my first degree? The most important question is, what do you want? What do you want? What's the purpose of this college degree? And that, if you answer that, then we can work backwards and engineer what is going to be the right college for you. So, what do you want? Why are you doing this? What's the purpose of this college degree? If the purpose of the college degree is just for your own pleasure and enjoyment, so let's say that you have financial independence, and you have all the financial and economic resources that you need, and you're at a point in your life where, you know what, this is something you haven't done, and you just sort of feel like, I'd like to just go to college and get my degree. This will be the first one. But I'm not interested in using this experience as the basis for going out and achieving a certain type of job or a certain type of income. I just want the information. That's all. And there are many, many people in this from this perspective and in this position. So if you do not have an economic motive for your first college degree, you're just at a point in your life where you have the time and you're really interested, you just want to do it, right? Then you need to just pick your college, the right college for you, the one where you're going to have the most enjoyment. Because you're not in this for economic reasons or financial reasons, you're in it for enjoyment. You're just interested in it. You think it would be something that you'd like. So what are the things that you enjoy the most? And you need to be really honest with yourself. So when you look at your first college degree, I'll make a couple of distinctions from a U.S.-based perspective. So in the United States in general, you can earn sort of a first college degree, which is often called the associate's degree. And an associate's degree is somewhere around 60 credit hours. What's a credit hour? A credit hour is typically how college programs are measured. So usually, traditionally, you go to college, and you go to college for a semester. And so a semester would generally be a fall semester, about 3 or so months, 3 to 4 months. You would have a spring semester, about 3 to 4 months, and then you also have summer semesters, which would be shorter. So traditionally, that's what you would do. And at the end of each of these semesters, you've taken a class. And so there's a measurement of how many hours you would spend in the class. Traditionally, you go to a physical classroom, right? You sit in a classroom with the professor and the other students, and you'd learn, and the professor would share information, and then you'd have assignments and tasks you'd submit to be graded. And at the end of these 3 to 4 months, you would earn a certain amount of credit hours based on how much time you spend in the class and the weight of the class. So an average traditional college class at the end of the long semester, and you've gone to class, 3 hours a week, either 1 hour on 3 different days, or you went for an hour and a half on 2 days. That's a traditional way. At the end of a semester where you've gone to class 3 hours a week for, on average about 16 weeks, at the end of that, you typically earn about 3 college credits. That's a lot of work, right? That's 3 credits. Well, to earn your first degree in the U.S., your associate's degree, you need a total of about 60 credits on average. That's a lot of classes, right? Because you're thinking, okay, well, one class, I went and I sat in classroom 3 hours a week, and then I had to go read my assignments and do my homework and everything, and that was hours more of my time. And then at the end of a whole, semester, about 3 to 4 months, I've earned 3 credits, but I need 60 of these just to get this sort of first degree. And that is roughly accurate. In the U.S., your bachelor's degree, your undergraduate bachelor's degree, which is your sort of this is not the best terminology, but kind of the idea of your full college degree is about 120 credit hours. So 120 credit hours, right? So I had to go to, so traditionally I would go and I would, have about 3 hours of class meeting each week. I do that for about 3 to 4 months. At the end of that, I get about 3 credit hours. I have to do that over and over and over again because I need 120 credit hours to get my bachelor's degree, right? So my associate's degree is about half as many credit hours as my bachelor's degree. That's so 60 credit hours roughly gets my associate's degree, and then about 120 credit hours roughly gets me my bachelor's degree. And so that's it for people who have these really good questions who haven't been to college. That's what's kind of going on. That's historically the way it was set up. And of course, I, as someone who is very proud that went to college and earned my bachelor's degree a while ago, that's the system I went under. It's sort of the traditional credit hour system, which is I would go to class and I'd sit in class about 3 hours a week, and then I do that for a full semester. And at the end of that, if I earned a high enough grade, right, a passing grade, depending on what school you go to, obviously A is the highest grade, B is the next letter grade, which is a good grade. C is ideally average, and then D, as in dog, is less than average, and then F is a failure. And so usually you had to get a certain grade at the end of this. So you don't just go sit in the class, but you have to take all the assignments and the tests and have all the feedback from the professor and the teaching assistants, and then you have to earn the grade you need high enough. And then you have so many requirements, what your total GPA, right, your grade point averages. So maybe if you had one class that was 3 credit hours, you earned an A, you had another class that was 3 credit hours, you earned a C, then your average would be, a B. So there's a lot that goes into this. And I think one of the things when people are looking at going to college, it sometimes overwhelms them is they think, wow, I don't have any, let's say I have 0 credit hours, right? Like I've never gone to college or had any college credit that I've earned. And now, to get to the first associate's degree, that's about 60 credit hours, and each one of those credit hours I have to earn, right? So on average, the average course, again, historically is about 3 credit hours. Some classes are only 1 credit hour or 2 credit hours. Some classes that are more than that, maybe 4 credit hours or more, especially if they're traditionally classes that have class meetings, and then you also have laboratory work. You have a lot of your science classes where you would go and you'd have class meetings so many hours, right? Maybe you do 3 hours a week in class, and then you also had so many extra hours. You go to the laboratory and conduct your laboratory, chemistry assignments or whatever. So there's a lot that goes into this, and that's why people sometimes feel like, wow, I'm overwhelmed. I have 0. I need to get to 60, but to get to 60, it's going to take, one class is on average about 3 credit hours. I'm going to need to do this for a while, and then I have to get the grades high enough. And that's, again, for that associate's, this is about roughly half of your bachelor's degree, which is your traditional undergraduate degree, sort of your full undergraduate degree, which is about 120 credit hours. So it's something that I think is important for people who haven't looked into this to kind of pull back the layer and understand a lot of work goes into this. And it's one of the things when I, in the show we talk about degrees, a piece of paper. Well, no, it really isn't. There is a massive amount of time and resources that are going to be invested in earning these degrees. And so it's the degree that you earn at the end of all of this, right? So you finish your 60 credit hours, or you finish your 120 credit hours, and finally at the end of this, you're going to get your with your grades high enough and all the other requirements the school has, and then you're finally going to earn your degree. That's a lot of work you put into this, right? So when I said, what do you want? If you're just using the degree for something enjoyable, you don't have a financial need. You're not trying to, quote, get a job or, quote, get a better job or any of that kind of factor. You just want to have something interesting. Well, then just pick stuff you're interested in. You're not concerned about using the degree in some sort of financial or economic capacity. You just want to do it because it's interesting. So then just ask yourself, what are you interested in? If you're interested in, in medieval art, then you need to go find the program that teaches medieval art. If you're interested in botany, then take the program on botany. If you absolutely have 0 interest in literature, then don't take literature classes. You're not getting the degree for some financial or economic reason. You're getting it because it's interesting and it'll be fun. So pick stuff that you like. What are you interested in? And remember, even though there's so many choices, it might seem overwhelming when you start looking at colleges. There really actually aren't that many choices of colleges that will have unique programs. So what you want to do is remember this. You are an individual and you have very specific, unique interests, dreams, goals, things of that nature. So you're focused on that. What's a college? Well, the college is an organization. Historically, in many parts of the world, they're public, meaning that they're government entities. So they're part of the idea that we as a society share these institutions, like a courthouse or a college. So if it's a public school, then it's some sort of governmental agency, basically is what it is. And what's the purpose of it? Well, the purpose was so that the people in that part of the world can partake in that benefit from their government. And depending on where you live in the world, these entry college degrees, the associates, right, or the bachelor's degree, in some parts of the world, they're part of the benefits of people in society, and so you don't pay for them out of pocket. In some parts of the world, you do have to pay something out of pocket. And sometimes then the government will have other programs, and then in other parts of the world, you just pay everything out of pocket. So it just depends on where you are. The idea, though, is that if it's a public institution, then of course it's part of the government. So the people who work there are government employees, and in the U.S. often they're state employees. So it'll be the university of whatever state, and often those people it's a state agency. So it's part of the the political process, the legislative process. Taxpayer funds are part of the financial arrangements, and they're there. It's set up by the government to provide education to the people that live in that part of the world, or that want to come there and be part of that institution. And so it's not a for-profit business. It's just a government service is basically what it is. And you have to think about what's the college trying to do? So there are colleges that sort of are focused on we want to get as many people that can come here and learn skills so that they can, quote, be successful in life. So they can go out and get a good job and earn money and be happy in their work and support themselves and their family and that type of thing. So you're going to see a lot of colleges that are going to have the basic kind of programs you're going to see. So language skills, whether it's English or Spanish or French, whatever your primary language is, you're going to have a lot of college programs that are going to have your basics, somewhat similar almost to like a math or a secondary school program, math programs, basic science. They're just a little bit more sophisticated and higher level than you would get in a secondary school program. And the idea there is to give you a well-rounded approach. Often in many parts of the world, this is sort of a liberal arts idea that you're going to make sure you have your basics of your language, make sure you have your basics of your math, your basics of your history, your basics of many of your basic sciences, biology, chemistry, and that's what you're doing. It's sort of just building on this foundation that you had in primary school and secondary school. If, again, you don't need the degree, you're not interested in this college program for, getting a job or something like that, financial, economic nature, then just pick what you're interested in. If you really have a specific thing that you love, astronomy. You look at the stars and you just are mesmerized. You need to go study astronomy. Now, there are schools that have amazing astronomy programs, but they're not the average. So your average local college is not going to have really specific programs. They're going to have these broad programs that sort of mirror a more advanced level of what you saw if you went through a secondary school, right? If you have a really specific interest, medieval art, you want to study, the Germanic language at a very high level, then you need to go online and research and find what schools offer those programs. Many programs are only offered by a few schools. Okay, so that's the person who doesn't care about the degree for a financial or economic reason. And what about everybody else who's motivated to get this college degree, but a lot of it is, hey, I need to get, quote, a better job. I need to, quote, make more money. I want to get promoted, and I know I need this college degree. So that's the opposite of the group that's just, I'm interested in this specific area. I'm going to go look online and find a school that has, medieval art as a a program that I can earn a degree in, and that's where I'm going to go take my classes because that's what I'm interested in. That's one issue. This other group is saying, hey, I just want the degree because I need to make money. I need to get more opportunity for myself. And everywhere I go apply for a job, they ask me if I have a degree, or at the job I have, they told me without another degree I can't get promoted. If you're in this group, then you need to make a totally different decision. Okay, so again, what do you want? If you want ideally money, professional opportunity, then you need to be really specific about it. Do you mean you want to make, if you make, this is U.S. dollars, so if you currently make minimum wage in the U.S. is somewhere in the $7 range, and $7 and some change. So let's say if you make $8 an hour U.S. and you think I need more money, what do you mean by that? Do you mean you want to make like $20 an hour? Or do you mean that you want to make $250,000 a year? And why do I say be specific? Because when people are vague, and when you're vague, oh, I just, college and make more money. Okay, well, you can go from, $8 an hour to $10 an hour, but how much better are you off financially? You're a little bit better. What is your goal? How do you see yourself? And this is where there's so much interesting research that people who are really intellectually gifted and able to do really well in all types of thinking jobs, right? So it's a knowledge economy globally, sort of generically, and so many jobs just require sort of high-level reading, writing, and thinking and analysis skills. And so what they're seeing is in all these research, especially in the United States, that students that come from families that have lower socioeconomic, the family has a lower income. Instead of them thinking, I'm going to go out there and use my skills, which are really impressive, right? I test well. My teachers tell me I have really good grades. I'm a very, I know I'm a good student. But instead of me going out there and aiming for, that I want to make, $15,000 a month, what I'm thinking is I want to make $15 an hour because everybody I know makes, like $8 an hour. So I'd be, in my mind, I'd be rich. Okay. This is a very important issue, and I do many programs on this. You have to be specific with your goal. You have to sit down in your quiet space in your own head and ask yourself, what are you really aiming for? So much of what the programs that we put forward are talking about, how do you surpass your goals? Well, you have to know what the goal is. And something vague, like I want to make more money, is not really a goal. Because you could make a penny more an hour, and you make more money, but how better off will you be? How much money? How much money? You need to sit down and put it on paper, whatever way you're comfortable. So usually people will try to switch from thinking, if they know everybody that they know makes $8 an hour, and they'll start trying to think, okay, I'll make, $15 an hour, or I'll make $30 an hour, I'll be rich. No, not really. You need to sit down and look at the part of the world you live in and realize, what are you going for? If you're going to be, look and see, what does a senior executive make in a certain type of job or industry? If you're interested in, computers, you're interested in accounting, and you need to get a better understanding. One of the things I think that is an obstacle for people in picking, quote, the right college is they do not understand the big picture landscape about economics in their part of the world and globally. In other words, somebody really intelligent will go to a school that doesn't meet their talent. They don't go to the school the best school they could go to. They just go to a school because it's the most convenient. And by doing so, they limit themselves. The top academic institutions in the world are the top in the world for a reason. So, pick any part of the world, Europe, Asia, the U.S. In the U.S., you've got public schools, and you have schools that were not built or maintained as part of a government agency, but they're private schools. And some of these schools that are name almost name brands. If somebody said they went to Harvard, or they went to Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, or they went to Northwestern, or many people around the world immediately know, wow, you went to Princeton or something. And what I was saying earlier is there's so many people who their test scores and their natural ability, they should be at a Princeton or a Harvard or University of Pennsylvania or University of Texas at Austin. But because they don't understand that that's how talented they are, and everybody in their local community, their family and friends are saying, hey, you need to go to this local school right here. You can go get maybe a degree at this local school and earn, $15, $20 an hour. And not understanding that the person has the skills to go to a more rigorous program and could go out and earn $15,000, $20,000 a month or more. And a lot of that is just a failure to understand the difference in money. And that's not anything that is, again, like we talked about earlier. It's not because I'm stupid, I don't understand. It's because I just don't have any exposure to that. If everybody in my world makes $8, $10, $12 an hour, then I'm going to think in that framework. The challenge is, though, I probably have the skills where I could go out and make, hundreds of dollars an hour, thousands of dollars an hour, but I don't understand that because I don't know anybody who lives like that. Picking the right college for your first degree depends on what you want out of life. If you want to go to the literally, quote, the best school that you can get in, what that means is many schools that are very competitive, right? So you have to submit an application and information about yourself, and you have to submit your test scores, either from school or from some standardized tests, depending on where you are. In the U.S., often the SAT, and then you apply, and then it's very competitive. So the best renowned schools admit only a little teeny percentage, a small percentage of people that apply get in. Because it's so competitive, because people know if I come out of, this school with a degree, I'm going to be in a really good position to go out and get an amazingly high-paying job. I'll make great connections. It's just going to it's going to open up my world to so many opportunities, and that's why some of these, the top schools in the world are very international, because people from all over the world know. I mean, I want my kid to go to this school, and if I'm wealthy and I have the resources to put into, paying whatever the tuition and living fees are, I want my kid to go to the best schools. And so that's why you see a lot of international students at the leading institutions around the world, because everybody wants pretty much the same idea for their children. They're going to get to the, quote, the best school, most prestigious, most academically challenging, and then that opens up a world of opportunity to the graduate. So the right college for you is based on what you want. If you are someone who understands all of the things that we're talking about and thinks, yeah, I understand I could go somewhere far away that I've never been, with people I don't know, and I might be so uncomfortable or unhappy. I might be from a background where if I went to that school, I'd be maybe the only person, like me or that looks like me, and I don't want to do that. That's totally valid. My argument would be the right college for your first degree. If you want economic or financial benefits, you need to go to again, quote, the best school you can get into. So no matter where you live, there's a school that's closer to you, right? That's going to be the best. By what? How do I know it's the best? There are rankings that are put out by sort of leading institutions and periodicals around the world that will help you better understand what the best school is in terms of prestige, in terms of reported income of alumni, in terms of academic support. You should follow your interests, right? When the first part we talked about somebody who doesn't care about money or economics from a college degree, they're not at all, they already have all that taken care of, they're just doing this because they're interested in it. And I said, go where your interests are. And this, you should follow your interests too, but if you really are looking at sort of the long-term picture of the economic return on this college degree, you need to be willing to take as much risk as you can. Go as far away from wherever you're from. Push yourself, to get along with people who are from maybe a different background, because the payoff will be incredible. It'll open so many doors for you to go to the most academically prestigious or rigorous school that you can get into. The more competitive the school is to get into, generally is a rough guide for the reputation of the degree, generally. Now, there are other institutions that are open admission. I certainly have taught at many and teach now at one that in many programs, not all, but some of the grad programs have some different requirements. But in general, for undergraduate, you have to have the qualifying high school diploma or equivalency, and there some other requirements, I'm sure, but in general it's more open admission, and there's programs like that all over the world. You want to pick a school based on what you want out of it. When you think about college, what's the difference between the school that's really competitive to get into, and that I said will open up all these doors for you potentially, and the reputation is just so impressive, and the other schools that maybe aren't? The basic bottom line often is, one, reputation, which is based on the longevity of the institution, and the caliber of people that teach there and that have graduated from there. So you need to think about these things. You need to be willing to push yourself and understand that if it was easy to go ahead and earn the 60 credit hours or the 120 credit hours, then everybody would do it. It's not. It's incredibly time consuming. And the more rigorous the program is, meaning, basically the harder it is, right? If you go take a class, I took classes in my undergraduate program, the 120 credit hours, and I went to the University of Texas at Austin, which is a large college. It has about 50,000 students roughly, literally on the campus. I mean, it's huge. But that's including undergraduate and graduate. That's a traditional 4-year institution, so they have bachelor's degrees, 120 credit hours. To the best of my knowledge, they don't offer the sort of half of that degree, the associate's degree. Many programs in the U.S. are at the associate's degree level are at the community college, which is what it sounds like. It's a college in your community that primarily is there to serve people getting that first sort of 60 credit hours, who often then will transfer to a 4-year institution to finish out a bachelor's degree. But the school I went to is very large and has a wide variety of programs. So that's one of the large research institutions worldwide, faculty who you're going to get everything from, astronomy to zoology and everything in between. And many of the faculty are, leading experts around the world in whatever it is they're teaching. So I took classes in areas that weren't my major or even necessarily something that I thought I was particularly, going to do professionally, but it was fascinating, because I'm taking an anthropology class and the person teaching it has written, 20 books on it and is the #1 expert in the world, and it's fascinating. And there's almost nothing to beat that experience. And that's why the more competitive schools are, obviously they've got the resources to have a broad array of programs, and then they bring in sort of the best experts. And that's why the students are able to really have sort of once-in-a-lifetime opportunities to learn things that you don't learn from just, reading a book, but you're talking to the person who wrote the book. It's just incredible. So what's the right school for you? What's the right college for your first degree? It depends on what you want. If you just want to have fun and enjoy it, pick an area that you're interested in and go to that program, because you're not interested in the money or economics. If you really are interested in the money or economics, you need to change your thinking. You need to reevaluate how you look at the world. You need to understand your framework usually for money is so limited and narrow that you don't really get the full scope of what's available to you. Don't think how much you're making an hour, or go do some research and look at sort of what the graduates of some of the more competitive programs earn out in their career at some of the higher levels of job title or professional income, and then you need to change your whole mindset. So don't focus on I'm going to make $15 an hour if the reality is you can go out and make, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 or more a month. Where you need to change your thinking, and then go to the school that's hard. The harder school is hard for a reason. You're going to have huge benefits. The people you'll meet, the education that you'll receive, it's going to be wonderful. But you need to pick the one that you're most comfortable. So if you don't want to go really far away, pick the school that's the closest to your area that's a little hard. If you go to the easiest place, and many schools are easy to get into. Like I said, I teach and have taught in open institutions. They're easy to get into, but they're rigorous and hard to graduate from, meaning that open admission just means that you can start the program if you're qualified. It doesn't mean that your degree isn't as challenging as many other programs around the world. Look at the people who teach there and who are the administrators there. Most of them will on their website list what schools they went to, and then go look at the caliber of the school they went to. Did they go to the competitive leading schools? If they did, that gives you a clue that they're probably going to give you some really impressive educational experiences. If you look at the list and you don't see many of those schools or any of them, that might give you an indication that the caliber of the program is going to be a little bit different. But it depends again on what you want. Dream big. Go big or go home. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Challenge yourself. This is your first degree. It may be your only degree. Make the most of it. So as I close, again, I want to encourage you to always come over to CourtneyAnderson.com and submit questions, concerns, show ideas, and again, follow what you want out of the degree as the guide to picking the right college. If it's your interest, follow the interest. If you want to make the most money you can and make the most professional connections and get the best possibility for future internships or professional opportunities, then you need to go to the most rigorous program you can. Thank you so much for joining me.